بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الحمد لله وكفاه والصلاة والسلام على رسوله المصطفى وعلى عباده الذين ارتضى ومن بهداهم اهتدى وبآثار أهل المدينة اقتفى وبعد. سلام الله عليكم وأهلا وسهلا لشرح القاعدة الرابعة من كتاب الإعلام للقاضي إياد، وهي كتاب الزكاة. ويبدأ الكتاب, the book begins with the section of Zakat and the divisions that he will go into. فلنبدأ إن شاء الله.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. شرح القاعدة الرابعة وهي الزكاة. والزكاة قسمان: زكاة الأموال وزكاة الأبدان، وهي زكاة الفطر. فزكاة المال تجب بستة شروط: بالإسلام والحرية وصحة ملك مال شرعت في مثله الزكاة، وكونه نصابا تجب في مثله الزكاة أو قيمته نصابا، ومضي الحول عليه أو على أصله الذي نما منه في ملك مزكي أو مجيء الساعي في الماشية أو الطيب في الحب. ولا يشترط في المعدن غير وجود ما فيه الزكاة من نيل واحد. وشروط إخراجها لمن
شكرا. Okay. وزكاة قسمان, it is of two categories: زكاة أموال وزكاة أبدان, that of wealth and that of what he said of like per person of people. And he clarifies by saying, and that means zakatul fitr. Sadaqatul fitr is called zakatul fitr as well. Sadaqa and zakat are sometimes used synonymously. Okay, in the Quran, إنما الصدقات للفقراء والمساكين, so on. إنما الصدقات in the verse of the Quran means zakat. It doesn't mean sadaqat as in sadaqa, by the way. So, right, there you go. فالزكاة المال تجب ستة شروط. Okay, so with the wealth, there are 6 conditions: الإسلام, الحرية, Islam, freedom, صحة ملك مال شرعت في مثل الزكاة, validity of possessing certain things which are zakatable, so to speak. You know, they use this word zakatable or whatever. So if we use that term, وَكَوْنُهُ نِصَابًا تَجِبُ فِي مِثْلِهِ الزَّكَاةِ. So likewise, if it is a nisab, and nisab means a threshold. If it has reached the nisab actually means like a measurement, like a scale, a certain amount. And where it's popular for is the amount for which zakat must be given. That's what it's popular for. Right, so we call it nisab. So we'll just use the Arabic term nisab for that, right? So as long as it's a condition that you have a nisab, أو قيمته نصابا, or its value, ومضي الحول عليه أو على أصله الذي نما منه في ملك المزكى, or and that what they call in Arabic حولان الحول, that a year, حول means a year in Arabic, and حولان means like passing through. So حولان الحول is that a year goes over it, either over it or its essence from which it's come. Okay, so I mean, one could say, for example, if it was animals, I mean, they kind of go with the appearance, count as one and so on. It doesn't mean it's got to be a new, do you understand? Like, it doesn't have to be a new calculation. Just because there's a new animal that's been born, it would kind of go with its asl. Or likewise, if there was certain wealth that was producing wealth, that would still count as it. And I mean, there are certain other complex issues, but they're not necessary at this stage. So, or that the sa'i actually linguistically means the person who strives, but it's used for the collector who comes to collect especially the animals. أو الطيب في الحب ولا يشترط, having good produce, because it can be given from, remember, personal possessions, from animals, from produce of the land and stuff like this. Each has a certain amount. ولا يشترط في المعدن غير وجود ما فيه الزكاة من نيل واحد. If somebody was to discover, let's say, I don't know, like certain amount of gold or something like this, by discovering it, you don't have to give, like, that will just, as long as it's not, like, if you just discovered a certain amount of natural resources as a one-off type of discovery, it would just have the normal rules of zakat apply to it. It wouldn't be something specific or something special, if that makes sense. Right, نعم. وشروط إخراجها لمن وجبت عليه ستة.
وشروط إخراجها لمن وجبت عليه ستة. النية فيها أنها زكاته أو زكاة من
صوت
يلي.
عالي.
النية فيها أنها زكاته أو زكاة من يلي، وإخراجها بعد وجوبها بتمام حولها لأصله أو مجيء السائي أو تمام الحب، ودفعها إلى إمام عادل أو أحد الأصناف الثمانية الذين تجب لهم الزكاة من المسلمين. واختلف في المؤلفة قلوبهم الآن هل يكي حكمهم أم لا، وأن يدفع أين السن والجنس الذي وجب عليه إخراجه ليعوض عنه، فإن دفع أفضل منه من جنسه أجزاؤه.
Right. Okay. شروط إخراجها لمن وجبت عليه ستة. The conditions. Once again, the Qadi is going with the number 6. Those conditions for whosoever zakat is obligatory upon. And niyyah, having niyyah, that is zakat, or zakat من يليه, وإخراجها بعد وجوبها بتمام حولها لأصله. So, either he has having intention for taking out this zakat itself, or for the person you're taking it out on behalf of, paying the zakat or delivering the zakat after a year has kind of passed on the product or on the thing, the arrival of the collector, or that the grain has become complete and kind of ripe, if you like. دفعها إلى إمام عادل, giving it to a just imam, or أحد الأصناف الثمانية, or one of the 8 categories whose zakat is valid for from the Muslims. As you know, إنما الصدقات للفقراء in Surah At-Tawbah, والمساكين والعاملين عليها والمؤلفة قلوبهم وفي الرقاب والغارمين وفي سبيل الله وابن السبيل فريضة من الله والله عليم حكيم. So these are the 8 categories, but we'll go through the categories later on anyway. But there is, as you know in the verse, وَالْمُؤَلَّفَةُ قُلُوبُهُمْ, that those who are not actually Muslim, they weren't Muslim, but you were, historically, people, like, there was potential that they may become Muslim. So it was okay to kind of maybe spend money on them in the hope that you're kind of taking care of them and that their hearts would warm to the message. There is a debate about this, and he mentions this ikhtilaf, does that continue till today? Because some people, because Umar radiallahu anhu, it's transmitted from him, and that's what Abu Hanifa and many of the Hanafiya went with as well, that he said that not now that Islam has become strong, like we don't need that. That was only an act of necessity when Islam was weak. But the Malikiya didn't really, like, in fact, the general understanding within the Maliki school is, if there was a need for it, it's valid. And so he mentions here there is ikhtilaf, does it remain or not? And then he speaks about, is it permissible to, do you have to give the exact, because you know when you give things like camels and cows and stuff like this, it varies on their age and stuff like this, especially the camels, and whether they've got now in their 2nd year or whether they're entering their 3rd year or so on. And sometimes you could get, like, for example, so many cows or so many sheep can equal so many of this animal, and so many of these animals can equal one of this animal, and you get these type of equations. Obviously they don't apply so much to us urban folks today, but the point is, the question is asking, is it valid, like if a person swapped like that, without, like, so let's say he had to give, I don't know, 3 camels, but instead of 3 camels he decided to give its equivalent in something else, and he says that there's ikhtilaf in. And then also, what about giving something, what if he gave something better than it, of a higher category than it? Does it still count? And it's just mentioned the ikhtilaf. To be fair, a lot of these animal related type of ahkam in terms of zakat and everything will be a bit irrelevant really to a lot of us, especially for now anyway. وَمَمْنُعَاتُهَا عِشْرُونَ. And though the forbidden things are 20, he's going to go into 20.
أن لا تؤتى لغني إلا لغاز ولا تؤتى لأحد من بني هاشم وبني المطلب واختلف في سائر قريش وفي مواليهم وأن لا يحتسب بها لفقير من دين عليه وأن لا يدفعها الرجل لمن تجب عليه نفقته وأن لا تبطل بالمن والأذى وأن يفرق بين مجتمع ولا يجمع بين متفرق خشية الصداقة وأن لا يحشر الناس المصدق إليه بل يزكيهم بمواضعهم وأن لا يأخذ مصدق خيار أموال الناس وأن لا يشتري الرجل صدقته.
Right, okay. Some of the things that you don't give zakat to a rich person, obviously. He mentions unless the person was somebody, an actual fighter or something like this that had come on a particular cause, and in his own hometown he was rich. That's different. وَلَا تُعْطَى لِأَحَدٍ مِّن بَنِي هَاشِمٍ. Bani Hashim are not allowed to receive zakat because of the hadith where the Prophet ﷺ said, "Inna Allah harram ala bani Hashim." What's the word? Rudal? Is it rudalat nas? But basically, what is almost like the waste or so on of people's wealth. That this sadaqah, like, because zakat is given to purify your wealth. So it's almost like, in essence, it's like the dirt almost coming out. Although it's not dirty, but it's like that. And therefore it's been made haram upon Bani Hashim. Also, in my understanding from what the ulama have said as well, and this is okay, it is a bit of my reflection in there as well. I think it's not just about it being like the awsakh nas, or the filth of people's wealth, is why the Prophet ﷺ made it haram. I believe that it was like a key part of it was actually due to the wisdom about people becoming obsessed with the family of the Prophet ﷺ. And it would have led to the deprivation of the poor, further being deprived. So, and for this reason, the Prophet ﷺ cut that link off, saying you can't even give them sadaqah. Because if you could, you can imagine what it would have led to. That people even till now have this big hype of being related to the Prophet ﷺ and stuff like this. And I mean, maybe many are legitimate, maybe many ain't legitimate, but that's besides the point. But the thing is, there seems to be this understanding that some people are perhaps above others. And you can imagine if it was to helping, they would probably think, oh, I'd want to help that person because he's a member of the family of the Prophet. So you can see where this would have gone. You can imagine. And it's almost like the wisdom, divine wisdom really. And وَمَا يَنْطِقُ عَنِ الْهَوَىٰ, that the Prophet doesn't just utter from his own desires. And it's interesting as well that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَمَا كَانَ, that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, أَبَا أَحَدٍ مِّن رِجَالِكُمْ, that he was not the father of any man amongst you. It's really interesting that, with the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, because you can imagine right now with all this lineage thing we have going through Ali radiallahu an and Hassan and Hussein. Imagine it was direct from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, like as in through sons. Can you imagine like what it would have like? And so it's amazing how some things through divine work didn't really, Allah had designed them in such a way. So having said that, some of the Malikiyah actually do permit giving zakat and sadaqah to Bani Hashim. Amongst them is Abhari, Abu Bakr al-Abhari, and Asbagh even allows sadaqah to them. But Abhari actually allowed in some of the Iraqiyin. That's because they said that this was where the Baytul Mal was watching over their rights, because they had a certain stake within the state funds. And since that has stopped, therefore they are entitled to it. So I mean, there are those opinions. Okay, now, ولا يحتسب بها لفقير من دين عليه. Like if somebody was, like if this person had a debt, if a poor person had a debt, and you don't think, I ain't going to give to him, because if I give to him, all this can happen is he can get paid to that debt. I don't want that. Like, do you see what I mean? Like, you can't, these things are wrong. Like, you still give it. وَلَا يَدْفَعَهَا الرَّجُلُ لِمَنْ تَجِبَ عَلَيْهِ نَفَقَتُهُ. Right, okay, if a person, you don't give it to somebody who you already are responsible for, because you're already meant to be supporting them financially. So like children and so on, that's already your legal responsibility, or parents, or wife, etc. وَلَا تُبْطَلُ بِالْمَنِّ وَلَا تُبْطَلْ بِالْمَنِّ وَالْأَذَى. Yeah, and you shouldn't kind of like ruin it by this, what the hell, man, I've sorted you out, I have, look at all this money I've given you and this zakat, and boy, I just hope it make the person feel real low. I shouldn't really do stuff like that. وَأَلَّا يُفَرَّقْ بَيْنَ مُجْتَمِعٍ وَلَا يَجْمَعْ بَيْنَ مُفْتَرِقٍ. That's from the hadith, that you don't separate from what is collected, and you don't collect what has been separated. That's more to do with animals and stuff like that, because sometimes you can split. Like imagine there's certain animals which are always together, and now the collector comes and I say, well actually those are his and these are mine, and now they don't meet the nisab anymore. You see what I mean? Whereas normally they always hang about together, and we treat them as one, but just for the collector's purpose we start saying, oh actually it's separate. Now basically, I know we're kind of, kind of married, but she's actually just a tenant in my property. That's the analogy. That one I knew would make sense of straight away. You're like, oh yeah, so that's normal, isn't it? So right, وَلَا يَحْشَرَ النَّاسَ الْمُصَدَّقَ إِلَيْهِ. So the person who comes to collect the zakat, al-musaddaq, or this is actually musaddaq, is from the Arabic word mutasaddaq alayhi, or mutasaddaq ilayhi. The one who, mutasaddaq alayhi would mean the one you're giving charity to, but mutasaddaq ilayhi is the one who's collecting them. Musaddaq ilayhi, they've called him here. That he shouldn't just say, alright everybody come gather around me like this. He should go to the people and collect them. The person who's the amil alayha, this worker, he is actually entitled to zakat fund. And that's one of the people, لِلْفَقْرَاءِ وَالْمَسَاكِينَ وَالْعَامِلِينَ عَلَيْهَا, those who work over it. Okay? وَالْمُؤَلَّفَةِ قُلُوبِهِمْ فِي الرَّقَابِ وَالْغَارِمِينَ, those in debt. That's like this entire nation, isn't it? But it's true though. It's, وَالْغَارِمِينَ وَفِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ وَابْنِ السَّبِيلِ. Right, so okay, and rather the person should go to wherever it is and he has to collect it, and he shouldn't be kind of choosing for the best. Like you've got all these sheep or whatever it is, or animals, I've come to collect them, but I'm only going to choose the best. No, you should just choose the average, because people obviously want their stuff at the end of the day. So, and a person shouldn't buy his sadaqah. Okay. Now, Right, okay. So the point is, let's say a person was to give something in sadaqah. This can mean a few things. What I think it generally means in this text is that if a person had to give, let's say a camel, he says, you know what, I'll tell you what, I'll give it to you, but really, whilst I'm giving it to you, I'm kind of buying it back off you, so I'll just pay you the money of it in return. Do you understand? Because I want it. So he shouldn't really do that, because it leads to things getting all complicated, and you can imagine the type of corruption it would lead to and stuff like this. Na'am, wa adabuha thamaniya. I don't believe it. Qadi Iyad's completely broken his trend of numbers. He's gone from 6 to 20 to 8, because he did everything in patterns. Looks like the Qadi was having a tough day. Allah. Go on, na'am.
أن يخرجها طيبة بها نفسه وتكون من طيب كسبه وخياره ويدفعها للمساكين بيمينه ويسترها عن أعين الناس. وقد قيل الإظهار في الفرائض أفضل، وأن يجعل من يتولاها سواه خوف المحمدة، ويفرقها في البلد الذي وجبت فيه لا في غيره، إلا أن تكون بأهل بلد حاجة ملحة فيخرج لهم بعضها، ويستحب له أن يكسد بها الأحواج فالأحواج، ويستحب للمصدق والإمام الدعاء والصلاة على دافئها.
Shukran. Right, okay, the adab, the etiquettes. And يخرجها طيبة بها نفسه. Person should give it happily. Not like, God damn it, like what the hell, I gotta give my zakat. If people after me, it's like tax, God damn it. Look, it's gonna be barakah. That لا تنقص المال صدقة. And I tell you, it is a tested thing, if a person ever gives sadaqah, that what they receive in return is always much greater. Now, it's an illogical truth. Okay, so that's what it is. It's illogical, but it is true. It's one of those things. So it's not as illogical as the Trinity, but it's still an illogical truth. Okay. Just in case you're mixing up my terminology with the right. So وَتَكُونُ مِنْ طَيِّبِ كَسْبِ وَخِيَارِ. And he gives happily from the good stuff. He doesn't take out all the just the pathetic stuff, because take this, hide the good one. He does it happily, gives it with his right hand, the etiquette, hides it. He doesn't try to show off. Although some people have said it may be good to kind of show, so other people encourages people. There's ikhtilaf when it comes to charity. Yeah, and there's ikhtilaf amongst ulama that when you give something in charity, should you be open about it because it encourages other people to do it, or should you kind of be humble and hide it so it doesn't look like you're showing off? Both opinions are kind of there. I think it comes back to whatever's needed. If a person felt that, look, there's a need here, by me doing this, maybe other people will be encouraged, then he should do that. If he feels there's no need, it's not going to make a difference anyway, I'm only showing off, right, then there's no point doing it. Okay. And it mentions he should get somebody else to do it if he's going to do it. That way at least he doesn't, khawful mahmada. So see the steps that the ulama took to kind of avoid the ego trip. It is amazing that they have kind of really taken a lot of steps to show that people don't become victim to the ego. وَيُفَرِّقَهَا فِي الْبَلَدِ الَّذِي وَجَبَتْ فِيهِ لَا فِي غَيْرِ. As the hadith says, تُؤْخَذُ مِنْ أَغْنِيَائِهِمْ, the amwal, that the wealth is taken from their rich, وَتُرَدُّ إِلَى فُقَرَائِهِمْ, that you take it from their wealthy people, you return it to their poor people. It's not for somebody else's poor people. It's the wealth of that community going back to that community. Zakat is an awesome system that the Sharia has put in place to keep alive entire communities worldwide. If truly Zakat was let's say if it was functional, truly in a community, then in every single Muslim community in the world, you can imagine how, like, there's so much wealth in the Muslim world, so much. Oh my God, it's filthy rich. That's how wealthy the Muslim world is, seriously. And just having money given back to the people is, it's something. It's seriously interesting. Sometimes the disease that like seizes people's hearts, like when we learned about with this whole Arab Spring as an example, you learned about people like these presidents and prime ministers or whatever they were, and generals, and the type of money that they possessed. Like you learn that, this person possessed like over 80 billion. Like, what the hell is that? Like over 80 billion as a personal like asset and possession, and oh my God, and you're almost, and over 80 years of age as well. It's like, whoa, it's like $1 billion for each year. It's like, and they're still not, it's like when you learnt about the Libyan thing, and you think, well, and the whole population of the country is like 6 million. You think, like, imagine you had that much billion. I was about to say, can you imagine just the interest alone that he's aggregating? I mean, without passing a value judgment on it, but I'm just saying that, can you imagine, like, and what do you want to do with this money? Like, you've only got a population of this many people. Wouldn't you bring the world's best technology to this country? Wouldn't you set up all education as free? Wouldn't you invest programs, get people sent abroad, sponsor things? Your money isn't going to run out. Even if you tried to spend that money, you couldn't spend it. God damn that. Seriously, that is where you have a disease of the heart. Do you understand? So these type of things, so you do see that the wealth is supposed to go back to the community. وَتُرَدُّ إِلَى فُقَرَائِهِمْ. It goes back to them. Right, now...
What liquor do you prescribe for the disease of the heart?
Ya Ghani, Ya Ghani. The thing is, I seriously, do you know what? Here, I'll tell you how you, this is a good practice. If you want to sometimes combat this thing of fighting this whole, this disease of the heart, you try to, in your own time, in the absence of obviously people, and especially this, let's say a person, try and make dua for people, specifically. You'll find yourself not wanting to do it. Like, quite often people will, like, they'll feel that, what am I getting out of it? And it is actually quite a practical situation. People quite, like, it's easy to just say, like, oh, barakallah feek, like that. That obviously people would say. But realistically, people will struggle, even though it won't cost them anything, to, to kind of like maybe wish well for somebody, just like in solitude where it doesn't really make a difference. Nobody knows that you're doing it anyway. It will be a difficult task for people. Either that or it's just difficult for me, is it? No, but it's true that, and you'll see that, look, you're not actually even losing anything. So why are you still struggling? Reflection. But try that and let me know.
I'll do it a lot for Mufti.
All of a sudden my bank balance gets extra zeros. Right, so right now, right, okay, and you don't take it out of those people unless there was a need, unless you were taking it to a place where so let's say there's a disaster in another part of the world, alhamdulillah, you can give there and stuff like that, and that is good. People should do that. In the UK, it is difficult sometimes. One thing you could say it's almost good about certain parts of the world is that you can always do an act of charity in other parts of the world sometimes. You're going, you see somebody, you can buy somebody some food, you can buy somebody this, Here we don't have that situation like that. I mean, it does happen, but it's not as common. So, therefore, you can't do these quick acts of like kind of, like of charity and stuff like that. But if there was a need elsewhere, you can take that money there. One thing that I think Muslim charities do need to, and I know some of them are doing it, but they need to maybe focus on, is when we, like in the UK, have disasters here, they need to step in. Like when we had floods here, like people need to step in. Like these people are just people as well. In fact, they're closer in the sense of not, okay, maybe not religiously closer, but they are closer geographically. And, you know, like when there's stuff like, there's obviously issues going on here, people are like, oh, that's got nothing to do with us. But I'm not saying you're going to go around doing all your campaigns or whatever, but organizations that already have so many funds and things at their disposal, because they're already used to crises, situations, that's what they deal with. They should, I believe they have a responsibility to actually play a role in that. And failing to do that is actually failing the Muslim community, I feel. That's my understanding. So where people, you know, whenever we've had these issues in the UK, whether it's been, I know we've had a bit of flooding and stuff like this, certain parts, and bloody hell, I was shocked to, don't turn it political, but I was shocked on what the government response was, that, oh, well, they just said that some regions from now on will only prioritize. So they said that the purse isn't bottomless. So therefore we don't have money to deal with everybody in the UK. I was like, what the hell? Like, people are going to be like...
You should come out in support of Somerset Mufti on Facebook.
Is it? Well, is something going on right now?
The floods and everything.
Right, okay. So the thing is, but I'm just saying in general, like, it's not just about speaking, it's about, you see, like, you, me, this, that, like, we can't do anything just like this. Like, a person can't do something, but organizations that deal with, that's what they do, they deal with crises. Like, that's, for them, they've got manpower, they've got resources, they've got money at their disposal, they've got people that they can raise funds with, they've got all this already going. I mean, that's their bread and butter. So for them to arrange a campaign to do something is nothing. It's not like, for somebody like us, we wouldn't know what we're doing, we wouldn't have no idea. I mean, we wouldn't have nothing behind us, but that's what I'm saying. Okay, so, but, and it mentions that the person who collects the zakat and so on, and the imam should make dua for them. It's interesting that it reminds us of a story, one of the, I think it's in the time of, was it Harun al-Rashid, that one of the teachers at Al-Azhar told us. He was saying that there was a drought, like a specific drought in this one particular time, and so what happens is everybody's like, obviously everybody's worried. And so one of the ministers kind of comes in, the wazirs, and he's like, oh, you know, like what the, you know, it's not going to rain, it's not going to, you know, like, oh, it's not raining, and what's going to happen about the produce and so on. And he says, like, what should we kind of do, and should we kind of do this or that? And he responds with this thing which becomes a bit of almost a mathal, like a proverbial, where he says, Aynamas, he says, da'hu, like, don't worry about it, like, don't worry about it. He says, speaking about the rain, Aynama saqat yu'ta biha ilay. Allah. He says, wherever the rain will land, the produce will be brought to us. Bit selfish though, but his point was, because like they're obviously going to bring it back to the central, ain't they? So to the capital for as zakat or whatever. So he's saying, don't worry about it. Wherever the rain falls, they'll bring it to us. Right, so I thought, although it sounds slick, but I'm not sure how comforting it is for all the others who are starving. They go, all right then, so you're okay, all right, cool. Why does it not help my situation? So, okay, well, kalam fiha fi sab'ati ashya. And, نعم.
على من تجب وفيما تجب وفي مقادير نسوبها ومقدار ما يخرج منها ولمن تؤتى وكم يؤتى منها ومتى تخرج.
نعم. So okay, al-kalam fiha ala sab'ati ashya, 7 type of things that we'll be speaking about. Who is it necessary for? What does it become necessary in? What are these thresholds or these nisabs? How much is actually taken out of zakat? Who is it given to? How much is given of it, and when is it given? These are the 7. Okay, cool. No problem. Take care.
فأما على من تجب فعلى الحر المسلم كان عاقلا أو مجنونا أو ذكرا أو أنثى أو صغيرا أو كبيرا ولا تجب على كافر لأنها طهرة وزكاة ولا تجب على عبد ولا من فيه شعبة رك.
Okay, these are the people it's obligatory upon who is free, Muslim, aqil, of reasoning. Oh, majnoonan, he mentions even if he has like mental health issues, but still zakat is necessary, but somebody else, the guardian, can take it out. Dhakaran, untha, male, female, elderly, young, all of them. ولا تجب على كافر, not upon a non-Muslim, because it's a form of purification for the wealth. Neither a slave, etc. Stuff like that. Now.
وأما فيما تجب فالأموال المزكى 8: النقود من الذهب والفضة والحلي المتخذ منهما للتجارة وفي معناه النقار والتبر والأنعام وهي الغنم والبكر والإبل والحبوب وهي كل مكتات من الحبوب وفي معناها ما له زيت منها والثمر وفيها 3: تمر والزبيب والزيتون والأرض المتخذ للتجارة والمعادن من الذهب والفضة والركاز من دفن الجاهلية.
Okay, من دفن الجاهلية. Shukran. What does it become necessary in? Well, there's 8 types of things which you give zakat in. نقود من الذهب والفضة, money of gold and silver. والحلي المتخذ منها للتجارة, or jewelry which is made of it but for business, commercial purposes. وفي معناه النقار, he says he's talking about gold and silver. والأنعام, and animals, livestock, whether that's going to be ghanam, bakr, cows, sheep, camels. Al-hubub, grains, and they are كل مقتات من الحبوب, whatever type of grains are taken and reserved for food, etc., for consumption. وفي معناه ما له زيت منها, also those grains which can be kind of turned into those type of grains, if you like, which can produce oils and stuff like that. والثمار, and also fruits, and there are 3: tamrun wa zabibun wa zaytun, that's dates, zabib, which raisins, shukran, and zaytun. Alright, with the Arabic.
No, translated.
Oh, is it? I like. Alright, so zaytun, right, so you've got olives as well. So these things, these fruits you would give zakat from. والعروض المتخذة للتجارة, those goods which are taken for commercial purposes. والمعادن من الذهب والفضة, and obviously if you hit a gold mine or like a silver natural type of resource mine or whatever it is, you would give from that. والركاز من دفن الجاهلية, and also rikaz is, as they describe it, الكنز من دفن الجاهلية وجعله الأحناف هو والمعدن شيئا واحدا. Al-Rikaz is a treasure from the time of Jahiliyyah, okay, which has a particular type of what you give on it, but we'll take a look at that in a moment. Naam.
وأما مكادير نسوبها فنساب النقود والهلي والمعادن من الذهب والفضة 20 دينارا ذهبا أو 100 درهم فضة خالصتين ونساب الأروض قيمتها من ذلك ويخرج ربع الأشر عن ذلك فما زاد فبحسابه إلا النظرة في المعدن ففيها الخمس.
Right, shukran. Let's go to right, shukran. Right, so amma maqadir nusubiha, the maqadir, the scales of the nisabs, for nisab al-nuqud wal-ma'adin min al-dhahbi wal-fidda, gold, silver, stuff like this today, money, these is based on 20 دينارا ذهبا, so 20 dinars of gold, or 200 dirham, 200 dirhams of silver, pure, of course. He mentions khalisatain. And know that even when you're dealing with things which are like, for example, so it's good to have the scales, because you know when you have like gold and 24 karat gold and so on, and you go through whatever 18 karat gold, whatever it is, none of them are pure. Even 24 karat gold is not pure gold, but it's a high percentage. So it's really, you're only adding up the percentage of gold, not the entire thing. So I forgot the exact percentage it is now, but so if you had, let's say, I don't know, something which is 500 grams of gold, but really it's 24 karat gold, then really it's not 500 grams, it's going to be whatever percent 24 carats represents. Okay, so that's how it kind of works. وَنِسَابُ الْعُرُوض قِيمَتُهَا مِنْ ذَلِكَ. Now, likewise, for when it comes to commercial type of things, it will be the qima, the amount of this 20 dirhams or whatever it is, the gold scale or the silver scale. That's what you'll be applying. وَيُخْرِجُ الرُّبْعَ الْعُشْرِ مِنْ. Obviously, this قيمة العروض, and we'll go over this some other time if we don't cover it right now shortly, will be, to do with commercial use and zakat and stuff like this. There has been some debates about people like Shawkani and Ibn Hazm, who had said that there is no zakat in commercial trade. Like, I mean, there's nothing to prove that. And Albani had kind of said similar type of things about there not being enough dalil or anything like this. And in fact, if you listen to the Risala dars on it, that was in quite some detail. Went into a lot of detail about all of this, about the zakat and the commercial aspect and so on. Right, okay. وَيُخْرِجُ رُبَى الْعُشْرِ عَنْ ذَلِكَ فَمَا زَادَ فَبِحِسَابِهِ إِلَّا النُّدْرَ فِي الْمَعْدَنِ فَفِيهَا الْخُمُسِ. Okay. رُبَى الْعُشْرِ, by the way, is your 2.5%. Okay. رُبَى الْعُشْرِ. Okay, a tenth, a quarter of the tenth. So, فَمَا زَادَ فَبِحِسَابِهِ. So, whatever, and likewise, basically you just give 2.5% of what you have. فَفِيهَا الْخُمُسِ. Right, as to the what we were speaking about, what you kind of dig out of the ground, etc. Like, let's say, Jahili type of treasures and stuff like this. That you give a khumus, a fifth of. That has a set thing. You don't wait for anything. You just give a fifth of it. Okay. وَنِسَابُ. نعم.
ونساب الحبوب والثمار أن يرفع من كل نوع منها 5 أوسق. حاصل البر والشعير والسلطة. والسلط. فإنه يجمع بعضه إلى بعض. وكذلك القطاني تجمع كلها على الصحيح من القولين بعضها، ويستحب له أن يقصد بها الأحواج فالأحواج. ويخرج منها العشر إن كان بعلا أو يسقى سيحا، ونصف العشر إن كان يسقى بالدلو والثانية. وأما الركاز فيخرج الخمس من كليله وقصير إن كان ذهبا وفضة، واختلف في غيرها.
Okay, now نصاب الحبوب والثمار, grains and fruits, etc., that you give from each one of them 5 awsuq. Okay, ليس فيما دون 5 أوسق صدقة, as the hadith mentions. And an awsuq is 60 ساعا, and a sa' is 4 أمداد. Okay, so 1 mud is this much, holding 2 hands together approximately. 4 of them approximately makes 1 sa'. Okay, they call that a sa'. And then 60 of those sa'as make 1 what is it? Awsuq. Okay, now, right, okay. Naam. So let's just, right, so you give anything below 5 awsuq has no sadaqah in it. Like you don't give. He mentions, however, you give them all individually apart from wheat and barley, and you can group these together. So there's certain things which are similar, hence grouped together. And he mentions qattani, which includes things like, I think, lentils and kidney beans and stuff like that can be grouped together. And وَيُخْرَجُ مِنْهَا الْعُشْرِ إِنْ كَانَ بَعْلًا. He mentions that you give an ushar, which is a tenth, if it was something which is kind of naturally, it gets its water and so on. And وَيُسْقَى صَيْحًا, like if it just gets natural irrigation, like you don't have to water it. وَنِصْفُ الْعُشْرِ إِنْ كَانَ يُسْقَى بِالدَّلْوِ وَالثَّانِيَةِ. And if you happen to go around watering your thing, now that requires more effort. Therefore, you give less. You don't give a tenth. You give, what is it? Just half of that. So, أين نحن? Yeah, نصف العشر. And rikaz, I mentioned already, you give a fifth as long as it's gold or silver. But if it's not gold or silver, there's ikhtilaf. Livestock. No.
وأما الأنعام فتختلف. فأول نسب الغنم 40 وفيها شاة هزاءة أو سنة إلى 120 فإذا زادت شاة ففيها شاتان إلى 100 شاة فإن زادت شاة ففيها 3 شيات ثم بعد هذا في كل 100 شاة.
Right, okay. Now he's going to start talking about livestock, which we'll go through. And it just mentions that if it was, he says, an'am, livestock, there's ikhtilaf. So the first one is to do with sheep. And nusab al-ghanam arba'un. So when there's 40 sheep, you give one. And othaniya. So you can either give one that's in its first year or gone into its second year. Ila mi'atin wa 20, up until 120 sheep. So if it's more than that, then there's a sheep in every فإذا زادت شاة ففيها شاتان إلى 200 شاة. So between over basically 121 to 200 sheep, you give 2. فإذا زادت شاة ففيها 3 شيات ثم بعد هكذا في كل 100. And then in every 100 that goes over, you keep giving 1 sheep. Okay? And as to cows.
وأما البقر فأول نسبها 30 وفيها تبيء حذع أو جذع أو جزعة وفي 40 مسنة. وأول نسب الإبل 5 وفيها شاة وفي 10 شاتان وفي 15 3 وفي 20 4 وفي 25 بنت مخاض من الإبل فإن أضمت فيها فابن لبون وفي 36 بنت لبون وفي 46 حكة وفي 61 هضأة وفي جزعة وفي 76 بنت لبون وفي 91 حكتان إلى 120 فما زاد ففي كل 40 بنت لبون وفي كل 50 حكة فإذا اجتمع عدد يتفق فيه أخذ سنين كان الساعي مخيرا.
ولا زكاة في الأوقاس.
ولا زكاة في الأوكاس وهي ما بين هذه الأعضاد والنسب التي ذكرنا وهي ملغة.
Right, okay. As to livestock like cows, etc. فأول نسبها 30 is when you start counting. وفيها تبيع جذع, you can give one of them which is a year old. Or جذعة, so either almost a year or a year. وفي 40 مسنة, and if you've got 40 then you can give one which is 2 years old. وَأَوَّلُ نُصُبِ الْإِبِلِ, as to camels, then 5. If you've got 5, zakat is obligatory. وَفِيهَا شَاة, and you give 1 sheep if you have it. وَفِي عَشَرٍ, and if you have 10, then 2. وَفِي خَمْسَ عَشَرٍ ثَلَاثَ, and if you have 15, then 3, which is common sense. وَفِي عِشْرُونَ أَرْبَعَ, 24. وَفِي خَمْسَ وَعِشْرِينَ, and if you have 25, then bint makhad. Now bint makhad is a baby camel which is only just 1 year old and is just entering the 2nd year. They call it bint makhad. And if فَإِنْ عُدِمَتْ فِيهَا, if you don't have that, فَابْنَ اللَّبُونَ. And this Ibn al-Labun is the name of a camel as well. A bint makhad was a female camel. This is a male one. وَهُوَ الَّذِي لَهُ سَنَتَانِ. This is a 2-year-old male camel. وَفِي سِتٍ وَثَلَاثُونَ بِنْتِ لَبُونَ. And if you've got 36, then bint labun you give, which is, you can take down some of these. What I'll do is I'll quickly say some of these names to you with what they mean, so you can just take them down. A bint makhad is a camel that is entering its 2nd year, female camel. Ibn labun is the one that is entering, it's a male camel which is entering its 3rd year. Bint labun is the same thing, but it's feminine version, entering its 3rd year. Hiqqa is the one that is 3 years old, entering its 4th year. And Jad'a is the one entering its 5th year. Okay, so now you'll probably know these. So when I say وَفِي سِتَّ وَأَرْبَعُونَ, so if there's 46 camels, you give a hiqqa. How old's a hiqqa? How old's a hiqqa? 6. You're giving it a few extra years, are you? You're making it. How old is hiqqa? It's entering its 4th year. Yeah. So if it's sitta wa in, what is it, in 46, you give a hiqqa. وفي 61, in 61 camels you give a jad'a, right, which is entering what? What's the jad'a's entering? It's the 5th year, yeah? Okay. So 61 you give a jad'a. وفي 76, 76 you give 2 bint labuns. How old are bint labuns? They're going, 2 to 3, yeah. They're going into the 3rd year. You give 2 of them. وفي 91, in 91 camels you give hiqqatan, 2 hiqqas. How old is a hiqqa? It's going into the 4th. Yep. Right. So now, right now, so hiqqatan ila 120, up until 120, it's the same. It's just 2 hiqqas. فَمَا زَادَ, if it goes above that, then in every 40 camels you give a bint labun, which is how old? Bint labun? Yeah, one then. Yeah, it's going into the 3rd. Right now, so for every 40 after that, like we said, you give a bint labun, and in every 50 you give a hiqqa, which is going into what year? Right, okay. No. The hiqqa is going into the 4th year. 4th. There is no 6. فإذا اجتمع عدد يتفق في أخذ السنين كان ساعي مخيرا. And if there was a number which, for example, like let's say it could work out that it's going in its 40s extra, or so for example 200 extra could work out as in you're dividing it by 40 or by 50. The collector has a choice. وَلَا زَكَاةَ فِي الْأَوْقَاسِ. You know the numbers, if you had broken numbers in between, so imagine he said in every 40 after that, but you didn't have 40, you just had 38. There's no zakat in the awqas. They call that a waqas, the broken gaps in between. Okay? There is no zakat in that, it's cancelled. It's only in these set numbers. Now, who is zakat given to?
وأما لمن تؤتى الزكاة فلثمانية أصناف ذكره الله عز وجل في كتاب العزيز فقال عز من قائل إنما الصدقات للفقراء والمساكين والعاملين عليها ومؤلفة قلوبهم وفي الرقاب والغارمين وفي سبيل الله وابن السبيل. فإن أتى زكاته لواحد من هذه الأصناف أجزاء وتخرج زكاة كل مال منه عند تمام يبس الحب أو تمر أو عصر الزيت أو خروج نساب من المعدن أو وجود النضرة أو بيع السلع غير المدارة أو المكتنة بعد مضي حول عليها أو على أصل المال المشترى به أو قبض شيء من دينه قل أو كسر إذا كان بيده نصاب مال أو تم بما يكبده نصابا بعد مضي الحول على ملكه أو مجيء الساعي على الماشية بعد مضي حول لها أو لأصلها المتولدة عنه في ملكه.
Shukran. Right, okay. Who's going to do the Arabic one? That's really... No, that was really... It was well done. It's a lot to read, to be fair. Right, now so...
Let's start.
وَأَمَّا لِمَنْ تُعْطَى الزَّكَاةِ. Okay, it's given to 8 categories. Right, okay. As we've read before, إِنَّمَا الصَّدَقَاتُ لِلْفَقَرَاءِ وَالْمَسَاكِينِ وَالْعَامِلِينَ عَلَيْهَا, and so on, the 8 categories which we read them. Did we go through? No, we never went through them before. So let's actually very quickly just mention them. So فقراء, مساكين, عاملين عليها, مؤلفة قلوبهم, في الرقاب, غارمين, في سبيل الله, وابن السبيل. So there's a difference between who is the faqir and who is the miskin. Some people say that there's difference between which applies to which term, but what they agree upon is that one of them, so they will say, for example, that the faqir is somebody who has enough money for, let's say, he has enough money for the year almost. No, sorry, he doesn't have enough money for the year, but he has it enough for his day. Now the reason is, a lot of them will refer to the year. Now that's because historically what they would do is they would put grain and produce away which would suffice for the year. Today we obviously live very different lives, but they would say like a faqir is somebody now, okay, he's got enough money for months but not for the whole year. And he still qualifies for zakat. And the miskin is somebody, they would say, who doesn't even have for his day. Not even enough for that actual day. So you can see that's such a stark difference. I mean, I think we'd all qualify definitely as fuqara in that sense. If it's the years, if you're looking at a year right now. But I mean, it wouldn't look at it, it would look at actual potential in the sense. Right, okay. Amilina alayh, those people who are collecting zakat can actually take a portion. Mu'allafati qulubuhum, we mentioned them before, those people with that potential for Islam. Freeing slaves, you can use zakat money for that. Personally, as an extension of ijtihad, you would say probably freeing prisoners of war and stuff like that. Wal gharimin, those people who are in debt, wa fi sabilillah, and those in the path of Allah, and that generally traditionally meant in battle, but it was expanded by certain ulama to include other Islamic endeavors as well. Wabn sabil, the person who's lost, or not lost, a traveler, so he's he needs money, you can pay him your zakat even if he does have money back home. Okay, so these are the 8 categories. Okay, now for whoever gives to any of these, it's valid. And you don't have to give to all 8, as some of the madhabs say, you have to give a bit to whatever, all. Zakatu kulli malin minhu, the zakat is taken from the wealth, and it's taken when from produce as it kind of becomes ripe and ready, and from oil when it has been kind of like drained at that time. and from like treasure or resources as they've been taken out of the ground. أو بيع السلع غير المدارة أو المقتنى بعد مضي حول عليها. Once you, and if it's commercial property, or sorry, not property, commercial assets, then it's once a year has passed by of those things. Right. And أصل مال مشترى أو قبض شيء من دينه قل أو كثر إذا كان بيده نساب مال أو تم قبضه نساب بعد مضي الحول على ملك مجيء السائل. Right now, it does mention with the condition that obviously the debt has been, that if a person was in debt, that his debt had been collected, or do you see what I mean, or it's been kind of taken into consideration basically. كان بيده نساب مال أو تم. So even if you were in debt to certain things, but you have currently in your possession enough, the nisab, you would give the zakat from it. Okay. And then there's a bit of difference about what I mentioned before. Wealth which comes from the actual original wealth is considered as part of the original wealth. Zakat al-Fitr, it is sunnah. وَفَصُولُهَا سَبْعَةً. So it's going to mention على من تجب, who is it necessary for, متى تجب, when does it become necessary, متى تخرج, when is it given, or كم قدرها, how much is its quantity, ولمن تعطى, who is it given to, وكم يعطى منها, and how much of it is given. Right, okay. So it is
فتجب على كل مسلم وجد لها كبير أو صغير حر أو عبد ذكر أو أنثى آكل أو مأتوم غني أو فقير إذا قدر عليها وفضلت عن قوته وقوت إياله وإن كان ممن يجوز له أخذها ويلزم الرجل أن يؤديها عن كل من تلزمه نفقة من المسلمين من قرابة أو زوجة أو عبد إلى أجيره أو عبده الكافر ومن له شرك في عبد أدى منها بقدر شركه فيه.
Shukran. Right, okay, now first thing, who is it necessary upon? Basically upon everybody, every Muslim, grown up, elderly, young, free, slave, male, female, mentally stable, unstable, whatever, rich, poor, whoever has enough money that whoever has enough of that produce, or traditionally it was given in terms of dates or whatever it was that you were going to give. If you had that food spare extra, like after your basic necessities, then it was necessary that you gave it, even if you qualified to receive it. But you still had, because you could be a poor person, but you've got enough for that, right? Because it's only, because a poor person could mean, remember, you don't have enough food for the rest of the week or whatever it is, so you would still have to give it. And basically, it mentions the man would give it on behalf of everybody he is legally responsible for. That would be his children, his wife, relatives, whoever he is financially liable for, he has to give it. Now, when does it become necessary?
وتجب بمغيب الشمس آخر يوم من رمضان وقبل طلوع الفجر من يوم الفطر وقيل اليوم كله محل للوجوب فيعتبر ذلك في من ولد أو مات أو أسلم أو بيع فمن أدركه وقت وجوبها منهم لزمته.
Right, okay, so تجب بمغيب الشمس آخر يوم من رمضان, last day of Ramadan, as the sun sets, it becomes obligatory. There is a difference of opinion. Some people say it's with sunrise the next day, okay, من يوم الفطر, and they say وقيل اليوم كله محل للوجوب, and some people say that whole day is the day of when it's necessary to give. فيعتبر ذلك في من ولد أو مات أو أسلم أو بيع فمن أدرك وقت وجوبها منهم لزمته. So the difference is some fruition of the debate. Imagine if it began with sunrise. Now, it would be, well, on things like if a person was born at a particular time. Okay, it would be necessary for that person. So, well, if you say, well, it was, I don't know, like, let's say the person was only born today morning, and it began, or rather if he died as well. At what point does the person die? What point does the person become Muslim? Really, in the real world, as far as we're concerned, this debate isn't going to really make much of a difference for people today. Neither are people in these societies generally going to be giving sadaqat al-Fitr with the actual grains and taking flour and giving like wheat and barley and stuff like this. It is permissible for us to pay cash. Okay, that fatwa is valid, and I've gone through it in a bit of detail in my online course. So, especially quite a bit with all the, the ulama that have said it within the madhab. There are some riwayat from even Ashhab and a few other people that kind of go that way. Okay, na'am. So, when is it recommended to give it though?
ويستحب إخراجها قبل الغدو إلى المصلى وتخرج من الحبوب حبوب المعتاد اكتياتها في البلد المخرج فيه ساع عن كل إنسان وتدفع لكل فقير مسكين محتاج إليها بقدر إياله من كثرة أو قلة. واستحب بعض العلماء أن لا يؤتى منها أحد أكثر من زكاة إنسان. والواجب إذا كان الإمام عدلا دفعها إليه ليالي تفريقتها والله تعالى الموفق للصواب بمنه.
Okay, now it is recommended to give it before going to the Musalla. Before going to pray Eid, you would give it then. That's recommended. تخرج من الحبوب المعتاد اقتياتها. You'd give it from the general food of the people. So if people, for example, in this country, let's say rice was their common food, let's say, you would give it from rice. Okay, you would give from whatever people commonly eat. That is an interesting question. What would it be in a country like this? We don't actually have a common type of, like, we don't have, so for example in Pakistan it would be flour, right? Because flour is the main, like whatever you eat it with chapatis generally, although people eat rice as well, but that's not the main. So in some parts of the world it would be rice is the main dish. In this country I don't actually know what, like in some parts of the world pasta is the, so I don't know what it would be actually in this country. Potatoes, I think it may be. Right, it's a good point. So, and you would give it from there. تخرج من الحبوب ساع عن كل إنسان. You give a sa', okay, 4 muds, a sa' for each person you're giving. وتدفع لكل فقير مسكين محتاج إليها بقدر عياله من كثرة أو قلة. So whosoever qualifies, you give it to the person. Okay. واستحب بعض أن لا يعطى منها أحد أكثر من زكاة إنسان. So, and you can give it all to one person. So for example, imagine you had to give 5 portions and here's a poor person, you gave all 5 to that person. That is valid. Although some ulama said no, you can only give him 1. You got to find another poor person, give that person the other one. You got to find, you see what I mean? But you can actually mention give all to just even one poor person. Everybody just pays it to that person becomes a millionaire and then gets an ego. he just buys like a brand new like Jeep and just starts running people over. Right. And they mentioned that if the Imam was a just person, it's good to give to him so he could kind of himself take care of the distribution. And with that, people, we have finished Kitab al-Zakat, which leaves us for Kitab al-Hajj next session. Wa jazakumullah al-khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.